The next part we're going to need is the steering wheel control interface, the plug, and the plug for the radio. The harness we're going to be using is the 707903. We're going to use the Maestro SW steering wheel control interface that will take over the computer and program, and this is the Kenwood harness. On the Kenwood radios, and the JVC for that matter, they have a vehicle speed sense wire, this little guy right here. And when the radio was first released, it had to be connected, but then they updated the GPS antenna, this was last year, and now it's not necessary for the installation. The GPS antenna is more sensitive, and Apple said it was okay that you don't have to hook it up. However, I don't recommend totally removing it because you may need it for a later installation, or it might not work properly. Either way, it is quite a long wire. I do like to shorten it up to a normal length. In comparison, it's just as long as the reverse wire, which we won't be using in this car either. On the harness, it has the speaker wire outputs that won't be getting used. We'll cap those off, along with the reverse and the VSS. We will need the steering wheel control wire. There's two other wires on here we will not be using, which are the cam plus and minus. They're green white and green red. Those can stay over here on the side. There's also a power antenna or amplified antenna output, which is a solid blue wire. That leaves us with a black ground, yellow 12 volts, a blue white for remote turn on, red is ignition, orange white is illumination, and of course the light blue yellow for steering wheel controls. I'm going to take a moment here to cap all these off and put them off on their own umbilical so they're not in the way of the wiring harness we actually need. We put these little tiny butt connectors on the ends to protect the wires. I've also soldered the VSS wire shorter. I like to use exterior Tessa tape to group all these wires together. Once we get to the end, I take a big piece of shrink wrap, put them over the end. It's in a nice bundle, and that will keep all my wires out of the way of the harness that I'll be using that really matters. Because this car has the Bose amplifier and we are not retaining it, we don't need any of the speaker wires on this harness. Let's remove them. That gets us down to the core colors and what we just need to attach to here. Next, we need to go over to the laptop and flash our steering wheel control module. That way we can see where this needs to hook up into. Inside the box, you get the USB programmer, the steering wheel control cable itself that has an 1/8 inch end on it, as well as a blue yellow. Blue yellow is what we're going to be using. I like to remove the parts, obviously, that I'm not using. This harness is easy enough to pin them back in. On the side, there's a blue, a black, an LED, and a push button, as well as a bigger clip on the other side that this is going to plug into, and the input for the USB flash. To flash your module, you'll need a couple things: make, model, and year of the car. You also need to download the WebLink updater and create an account. Anyone can do that. Select the green box for flashing Maestro. Flash by vehicle. This is a 2008 Mazda MX5. It's going to give you a picture of the steering wheel. Just double check it against yours. If it matches, click it and move on to the next. Enter in the radio that you're using. DMX9 7XR. Select how you want to configure it. In this case, our only option is as a steering wheel control. Now we get to customize how we want our steering wheel buttons to work. One of the things that's default on this that I don't particularly like is the hold for mute. A lot of people like to hold volume down and have it just go down at a normal pace, so I always shut that off. But you can program these buttons to do anything you want. Track up and down, answer calls, hang up calls. You have press and hold, so each button can be 2 features. If you're satisfied, select continue. It's going to give you an overview of what you just did. If you're good, flash. Once it's done flashing, you can print a wallet card if you did a whole bunch of weird stuff. Otherwise, go to download install guide and it will give you your instructions on how this is to be hooked up. The first page is an overview of the wiring harness. As we scroll down, now it is going to give us the actual wires we're going to be using for our connection and a pin connector. So we can now use this to connect it into the car. And it looks like most of our wires are going to be in the factory harness. The bummer is on this harness, the speaker wires are not the same size as these 3 in the middle here. I'm gonna grab a second one of these and pull those pins out and repin them into this harness so that I don't have to cut the factory wiring harness to do this install. And according to my instructions, they're going to go into A10 and A9, which are located in these thin wires here in the center up in the top corner, which looks like they're the opposite corner of the remote turn on and the power antenna. But now I have to delicately remove these 2 donor wires. Alright, so I've removed one, the red one here, which is easier to get out, just to kind of see how this locks into place. And there's a pin located on the top that needs to get pushed down. And then the wire comes right out. I have a box where I keep these extra harnesses. If I need to remove that one for something else, I can. Take my knife and pry these 2 teeth back up. And if I look at this properly, need one here and here. A9 is going to attach to my black-white wire, and A10 is going to attach to my purple-red wire. And that's it, that's all we need. Just like before, I can remove the wires I'm not gonna use out of this harness. With this, I just use a razor blade and pop up the tooth. I gotta set those with my other piece, and if I need them, I can install them back in. And that finishes up this. I also soldered in all my other connections, basically color for color, yellow to yellow, black to black, that sort of thing. Grabbing my exterior Tessa tape, tape this harness up, and there's a method for it that makes sense to me, and how that is tape from the plug into the center here, from here into here, from here into here, and from here into here, so that they all meet in here. The reason for that, the end is what's going to want to unravel, and the end will be in the center, and we're going to do another layer of tape in the center. So start here, pull tight, wrap it around twice, and work your way into the center. Do not cover up your soldered wires. The reason why we do it like this is now we're going to take the interior Tessa tape, and we're just going to cover up the shrink wrap end. The reason for that is if we ever need to service this, all we have to do is peel off this one portion of tape, and that's it. We can easily get to all our connection points here. It also helps to tell us that that's where our connection points are located. Pull it nice and tight. Tighter you make it, the better it will stay. When wrapping it, try to half the tape, meaning half over the old. It sticks to itself really, really well and will hold longer. At the end, do 2 wraps. There we have it. There's our harness for this car.
For installing our microphone, we're gonna put it right here on the top, right behind the rear mirror. For that, you gotta remove the screw that's underneath the sun visor. That is a T27. Then the bracket that locks the roof, those are T40. It's 2 of them. And then finally, the A-pillar. It's just 2 clips, pop it to the right side, comes out. We already have our microphone ready. We put 1/8" loom across the wire so we don't pinch, just to protect the wire. Grab your pry tool, slowly, just bring it down a little bit, put your fingers. And if you see right now it's kind of loose, you put some foam. Trim your zip ties.